Hey you, once again welcome back to the channel. And guys, just the feeling of nostalgia. Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. And if you're watching this video, probably a good chance you're probably familiar with The Dark Crystal, or the story, the books, the movie that came out in the early 80s. And in this trailer they released this. It seems like the Jim Henson camp is partnering up with Netflix here. We didn't get a whole lot, but we got a very touching. Just brought back memories of being a kid, and watching many of Jim Henson's productions, and as he talked about, at that time, this was his greatest accomplishment. And The Dark Crystal is just a cult classic, awesome film. Helped shape my childhood. When you think about your childhood, you think about these films that a lot of us who grew up in the 80s were fortunate to get to see and be part of that period of time. Movies like The Dark Crystal and The Never Ending Story. And if you can remember the first time you saw those movies, you just get that gut feeling in your stomach. You get that I don't know, it's like a butterfly or something, but it's just good memories when you think about it. And just the way they did those movies, now, the generation now look at it and say, oh, look at these puppets, prancing around. But, this was before, we had the good CGI, and I mean, if you can get a puppet, if you can get some good puppets, puppets on the screen, cool looking puppets like this, I mean, you were really doing it. You were really doing it back then. I thought this was I really thought this was really amazing, awesome cinema. And it is, even to this day. And that's what I like about what Netflix is going to be doing with this production. I think it's going to be mostly puppeteering again. It's going to be a lot of puppeteering, and I like that. Everything doesn't have to be CGI. If you don't know what The Dark Crystal is all about, what the series is about, now this is going to be a prequel to the series a lot of us love and know about The Dark Crystal. And The Dark Crystal really follows the stories of these two races of beings, and there's actually a third race of them, but they're all pretty much dead, but one, and then we find out it's just two. It's a male and a female, and they're called Gelflings. They're these humanoid looking, they look like elves. Not this picture you're looking at here. What you're looking at here is actually a picture of what they call the Skeksis, and that's one of the other races, and they're kind of like the evil part of the of the movie. And then we have the mystics, who are like these wise, good creatures, and of course they're trying to stop the Skeksis from ruling the world. And I don't want to give too much away. Maybe people haven't seen The Dark Crystal yet, but. And I mean, this movie's like 35 years old. If you haven't seen the Dark Crystal yet, you definitely want to watch that before you even think about watching this series, the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance here. It follows this, and the prequel is going to give us a lot of information, I'm assuming, what happened before we get to this point of the division of the races. Just a quick spoiler that they were all one race. We find that out in the Dark Crystal movie. So I'm assuming in this they're going to explore maybe the origins of how that happened, how they became two races when they were only really one race of creatures. But just very excited to see this, guys, and what they're going to do with this, with this production. Jim Henson, and I'm actually going to make this part of a question. If you're on Steam, I'm going to upvote you if you get it right. If you get it wrong, I'm still going to upvote you. But just be honest, guys, if you don't know the difference between a Muppet and a puppet. Don't cheat. Don't Google. Just tell me if you know, because I didn't know the difference between a Muppet and a puppet. I didn't think it was the answer that I got, and some tells me a lot of you all don't know either. So don't cheat. Basically tell me if you can figure out the difference. There's a picture of the Gelflings. This is Kira. The female Gelfling is Kira. The male Gelfling went by the name of Jen. And, the reason it's called the Dark Crystal is because this powerful crystal, it became shattered and it split the races of these beings and plunged the world into darkness. And it was going to stay in the darkness unless the piece of crystal that fell apart was, replaced back on the crystal. And, we have our movie with the Dark Crystal. But, sadly, the Gelflings were once a race of beings that populated the planet, the world, and I believe it's called Thra. I think that's what it was called, Thra. Thra was the world they were part of, but the Skeksis, the very ugly, evil-looking creatures that we just saw pictures of, they actually did this genocide type thing on these Gelfling creatures. And so that's how come we, in the beginning of the Dark Crystal, we only think we're getting one, but we actually, he finds a female Gelflings, very cool creatures. They once could fly. They have these like butterfly wings, only the female species, and they can no longer fly, but they can kind of glide. They can kind of glide, and they possess a type of telepathy amongst each other, only amongst Gelflings, where they can share thoughts and things like that. But and those are the mystics here on the left hand side. But guys, it's one of those childhood movies that you don't forget, that really shaped your childhood. And just some other interesting information about Jim Henson was that Jim Henson, when he created the Dark Crystal, this series, he really wanted to bring back the storytelling of the Brothers Grimm. We remember stories like Little Red Riding Hood, where the wolf wants to eat you, and if the Little Red Riding Hood is told in the right way, it can almost be pretty scary story to a very small child. And so, Jim Henson, as we got to see in the trailer and some of the information was released, he thought it was very important that children don't lose fear of storytelling, because, now we got all different types of ratings, TV shows, books you read, and various things, not to scare children. And Jim Henson didn't feel that was healthy at all. He felt that they should have a more full experience in storytelling. And I agree with that, because growing up watching shows like this, even like the Never Ending Story, it did strike a certain uncomfortableness and fear into you, and that was all part of growing up, right? So anyway, guys, tell me the difference between a Muppet and a puppet, without cheating, without Googling, without looking for other information. Put it in the comment section. If you're on Steam, I'm going to upvote your comment, whether you're right or wrong. If you're not on Steam and you're watching this from another social media platform or site, if you're not on Steam, get on Steam. You get paid for your comments. You get paid for your likes and responding. Why wouldn't you want to do that, since you're here doing it anyway? Join me over at Steam as well. Guys, if you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe. And until next time, take care.